So this session, Writing Help with TextHelp, is going to be presented and led by Ben Dyer. He has a passion for empowering people to achieve their goals through education. He works closely with educators and students, providing support to achieve their desired outcomes and get the most out of their learning. It's great to have Ben with us today, and I'm really looking forward to exploring what TextHelp has to offer in regards to getting students writing. I know that a lot of dioceses are already engaged with TextHelp, and it'll be great to find out a little bit more. If you're new to TextHelp, haven't heard before, then this is going to be a great session to explore that. So over to you, Ben.
Thanks very much, Ben. I'll just share my screen.
Yep.
And away we go. Hopefully you can all see a screen that's purple that says writing and study tools to provide agency and boost productivity with Read and Write for Google Chrome. And you can hear me okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben, and I am a customer care lead here at TextHelp Asia Pacific, coming today from our Brisbane office. So a couple of times early on, I'm going to ask you to capture some information. The easiest way to do that will be to write it down, or even better, grab your smartphone and just have the camera ready so you can take a quick picture of some of these things and then you won't lose them. So first one is my email address. If you've got any questions, if you have to shoot off, we are recording the session, but if you think of anything after today, as you start playing around with the toolbar, then you can email us at b.dyer@texthelp.com. So that will just give you a moment to capture that email address. And while you're capturing that, as we're going through, if you could just chat in any questions that you have, Ben will be monitoring those as we go through. Thank you, Ben. And then we'll have some time, hopefully at the end, to go through any questions that you do have. Okay, so this is why I said keep that handy, that smartphone or your pen and paper, because I want you to capture this other link. So this is going to take you to a whole bunch of handouts for today's session, lots and lots of stuff, quick reference guides, links out to our YouTube channel and other recorded PL sessions. If you're already familiar with TextHelp products and Read and Write, then you can jump through to relevant deep dive sessions, and loads of other resources in there, checklists to help you get started and so on. So I'll give you another moment to capture that bit.ly link, bit.ly/R&W fun, and the R and W are in capital letters. Awesome. So what is Read and Write? If you take one thing away from today's session, if you just understand that the toolbar is a toolbar that's going to hover over pretty much any digital environment students are on, and it helps them to understand and to be understood. And critically, it gives students the ability to have agency. And what I mean when I say agency is voice and choice over how they interact with any digital content that they come across, without the need to ask peers, parents, a teacher aide, or their teacher or tutor for any assistance. So we're going to focus on number one, reading, writing comprehension, and more specifically tools to help with writing and all of the other things that encompass writing, because actually writing is academically the most challenging task that we can ask a learner to undertake. And we'll have a tiny little bit of a look at PDF support as well, with another product that comes included with Read and Write called Orbit Note. So Read and Write, because I've got it all set up in Google Chrome. Many of the dioceses actually operate in Google Chrome environment, but not necessarily. It's important to understand that what I'm showing you, while the look and feel may be a tiny bit different, basically whatever device that a learner has apart from a smartphone screen size is just a little bit too small to facilitate a lot of the things we would like to do. like writing, but any other device that students have on any platforms. It could be a Mac, for example. I'm on a MacBook Pro today, but I'm using the Google Chrome extension version. I could equally easily be on a Windows desktop machine, a Surface Pro, a tablet, an Android tablet, any of those devices, and also Edge, sorry, I forgot to mention, are going to work with almost the same functionality. The most robust versions, though, that I do recommend using if you have the right device would be the one I'm showing you today, Google Chrome, and the Windows desktop version. And they're the most two common configurations that we see. But important to remember, whatever device you have, wherever you are, you can use most of the tools that we're going to be looking at today. And what does that mean? It means that wherever students are, wherever learning is taking place, we're further embedding that agency. They could be at school with us, they could be at home, they could be in isolation with COVID. No bother. If you've got your device, then you've got access to all of these tools and you can crack on with whatever task you need to crack on with. So one toolbar helping everyone achieve, understand, and be understood. So where can this toolbar be used? I'll just kind of read this out, but you can feel free to read through it yourself. We can scan inaccessible documents, PDFs, web pages, whether we're in Microsoft Office and we could be online with 365 or offline in G Suite or on printed paper, we can help everywhere. So now you're kind of starting to understand pretty much wherever we are on whatever device except for a smartphone. And the tools can be broken down into three key areas: reading, comprehension, and writing. And today, of course, we're going to focus on tools for writing. Important to remember that the toolbar is not only going to help struggling readers or those who are quite reluctant at writing, but it's also going to help you international students or students who speak multiple language and whose L1 or first language may be a language other than English. But it's going to help students who are gifted or talented because the same tools can be used in multiple ways to expedite processes and boost productivity. So it's going to help all students in a variety of different ways, and you'll see how it works just shortly. But also it's course agnostic. So the tools are going to work across the curriculum on any kind of content, which is really, really awesome. Okay, so that's enough talking from me. Why don't we jump into a couple of different environments that you might see the tool being used and take a look at some of those. So I understand we have a mixture of educators from kindergarten right through to grade 12. So I've tried to pick a mix of kind of middle of the range, but actually it could work on anything. So here we are in a PDF that I've opened using the Orbit Note extension, which comes with Read and Write. And one of the first things that I would usually get students to do is to pick through and use the highlighters tool. So I'm talking now about kind of pre-writing. After I've assumed that students have read this or they've used the text-to-speech tool here, the play button, to read it out to them if they can't read it by themselves. Now I want students to actually maybe dive a bit deeper and use these highlighting tools here. So you can see I have a choice of 4 different highlighters, and there's 2 key ways that I try to suggest that learners might use these tools to help them with pre-writing. One of the tools that you could also use, and if you make use of LMS, that stands for Learner Management System, such as Google Classroom or Schoology, Brightspace, Canvas, there's integration with pretty much all major learner management systems now, so it's going to work seamlessly within those. You might have students, or you might decide to go through and highlight keywords that are maybe tier 2 or beyond, tier 2, tier 3 vocabulary words. So words that you would not expect students at on grade level to be able to understand, unfamiliar words. Or you might teach students to use the comprehension tools, the dictionary and Pictionary dictionary. If they use those tools, they would use a highlighter, any color, to go through and highlight those words. So for example, moon, and I can just go through. By the way, because I'm using Orbit Note, which comes with Read and Write, all of the work that I'm doing, like highlighting and so on, it's all going to be automatically saved, even if I have to go to my next class or mum and dad pick me up or I've got to get the bus. So that's another big advantage of doing things digitally, as long as I integrate with either OneDrive or Google Drive, depending whether I'm working in Google or Microsoft environment. So if I'm not familiar with any of these vocabulary terms, what I can do is just quickly go through and highlight any of these words and highlight them as so on. And then when I'm finished, I can use this fantastic vocabulary making tool. If I click on that one, depending on whether I'm in Microsoft or Google, that is going to usually, although it looks like it doesn't want to work for me today, yep, it is now. It's going to create almost instantly a Google Doc. So again, saved into the cloud. I'm never going to lose any of my work. And now I can see I've got all of the words that maybe I wasn't sure of, the meaning, and it's fully editable, so I can change this. Where available, a image to help with comprehension, and then a notes section. And so I can use this to deepen my own learning by adding in, for example, my sentence and creating a sentence using my own words to deepen the learning of this. So a really fantastic way for either you to flip the classroom by pulling out vocabulary that would not be expected to be understood at this level and sending it, maybe even sending it to parents as well to go through ahead of any reading comprehension tasks, so that you can maximize the amount of time that you have in class. Students, of course, who have access to read and write could also do this at any time with any unfamiliar vocab they encounter in any digital environment themselves. So one way to use those really awesome highlighting tools. And another great way to use the highlighting tools would be to teach students how to use the highlighters for revision, note-taking, and study skills purposes. So ahead of any pre-writing, I might say, look, this is a key point in this particular PDF or website or whatever I'm looking at, blue. This section, I'm not too sure. There's a fair few vocab in here I'm not familiar with. Conceptually, I don't understand what this sentence is. So I'm going to highlight things I don't understand or I need to check with my tutor or teacher or mum and dad or my peers in pink. And so as I'm going through kind of any kind of reading comprehension or any content on my own now, I may decide, hey, I heard from a year 11 student that Mr. Smith always puts yellow stuff into the assessment task or the final exam. So I'm going to highlight things I need to memorize in yellow. And so as I'm going through, I now have a strategy, depending on the age and stage and the scaffolding required. Obviously for early primary, I probably won't teach the students yet, as they're still grappling with the basics of literacy and numeracy. But definitely for my depending on the age and stage of their learners, once they move into secondary school for sure, I'll start to show students different ways to use the highlighters and crucially, give each highlighter a key meaning, so that as I'm going through any reading, I'm also setting myself up for best practice with summarizing, pre-writing, and formulating my ideas. So when I get to writing, I've got a plan in progress. And as I said before, all of this highlighting that we're doing, as long as we're operating in either Google Drive as I am today, or OneDrive if I'm in Microsoft environment, it's going to save it all in there for me. So then what I can do after I've highlighted my whole passage, I can use this one, the Collect Highlights tool, and I can change it to sort by colors. So now you can see why I'm teaching my learners to denote a specific color, because now whenever they go through any kind of reading comprehension on their own, they've got a fast track way to revise key points. There's all my key points in yellow. I can even share this document with my lecturer. I can copy and paste that into email very quickly, especially if there's been disruption like natural disasters again, or COVID. And I can flick that out to my teacher or ask mum and dad. And then here, crucially, I've got the beginnings of what I think are my key points. And now I can either add these in as citations into my work, or I'm going to rewrite those into my own words. I've got the beginnings of my writing assessment done. Because if you think about it, usually the first task we ask most learners to do is a reading task. And usually the way that we assess learners at the moment is to ask them to demonstrate understanding or competency with a writing task. So there's our two different ways that you can use read and write and the highlighting tool to pull out a vocabulary list quickly and easily for difficult to understand or unfamiliar vocab and terminology, and also to set yourself up for best practice with revision, study skills, and pre-writing and drafting your ideas. Excellent. So while we're in a document, we can do this only currently on PDFs and Google Documents because of the permissions required. What I can also do, if I go back to my PDF, is notice how there's a little comments box here. So for example, if I'm here on the moon and I know that my instructor or my teacher also has access to this, I can actually leave a comment. And there's a few different ways that I could leave a comment. So there's a number of different ways you could use this tool. I could use this comment to speed up the student-teacher feedback loop. And I know that there is a case study that the Lismore Diocese has found particularly useful with using this voice notes feature to speed up the student-teacher feedback loop. But I could also type my comment in here. So I don't understand this concept or this part of it. So I could type it in and I could leave a comment like this. And then where I see the play button, I could also even listen to that. Understand this concept, which is handy. But now, and imagine that I'm sharing this document with other people, I could also use this to collaborate with other people as well. So I can also leave a comment in by using my voice. So I can also leave study notes, revision, tips, anything like that quickly and easily by using my voice. So that's another way. And now you can see, sorry, I'll just hit reply, that these are going to sit handily, especially in the case of a PDF, kind of down the side of my document. They're not going to cover the work. I can move this around as well, which is really, really nice. And there's also a third way, which could be used as an alternative pen, but also as an educator, you might use this to leave hints and tips. You might model pronunciation for international students. There's just and as I said before, you might use it to expedite or speed up the student-teacher feedback loop, especially if there's disruption with people off or in isolation thanks to COVID or something else. So I can also click on the voice note and then I can leave an unlimited number of voice notes by using my voice for a variety of different purposes, which is really awesome. And if I go ahead and add that in, then you can see I've also got a comment which would just be my voice in there. It takes a little bit of time to load. And there it is. I can listen to that as well. And the other great thing that I love about voice notes, obviously it's a game changer for students with dyslexia or ADHD and some other significant learning disabilities. You know, we do know that if we were to provide an alternative means for those students to demonstrate competency, they would score very, very highly, which is fantastic. So obviously it's a great alternative pen for those students to just get their ideas down onto a document. But also from another perspective, and we'll look at this as well, the play button or text to speech, it's a very commonly used screen reader. This can be used by all students to expedite the amount of content that can be absorbed. So we know that when we listen to content, rather than reading it out, not only is the cognitive load significantly reduced, so it's great for us at busy teachers when we're tired, but we can also understand that content, depending on the learner, up to 4 times quicker than if we were to to read it out ourselves. So think about the applications of using voice notes and using the text-to-speech tool as well. Okay, so we've got all these great tools to help us to expedite processes, to think about pulling our content together. We've revised our reading task. So we've done a lot of the pre-writing. Now, let's look at some tools to help us when we've actually started to write down or formulate our own ideas. So here you can see Greg has had a go at writing about his holiday. I'll just open up the tool here. But you can see he's made a number of mistakes in terms of capitalization, grammar, spelling, and punctuation. But sometimes the technology is a little bit hard to see. So what you can do is actually highlight or just click on the check it tool, the little purple one, the first one. And then what that will do is kind of make it a little bit easier to see, but notice how it also picked up on some grammar and spelling and punctuation, such as, you know, you need to insert a comma here, and it'll actually tell you what is wrong and how to fix it. And you also have a choice of whether you want to ignore that or not, so that that error goes away, which is different. So it's a combination of using our IP with the Google and Microsoft technology, and it's a little bit more advanced. So it's going to pick up on some more errors, essentially. Also things like, you know, this redundant space in between the end of the word. So check it tool, you know, if I had $1 for every time I ask students to check their work for, you know, spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and grammar, I'd be in really good shape. So make sure that's just good practice to have students to use the check it tool. Now, you may remember I said earlier that writing is academically the most challenging task that we ask students to do. So any help that we can provide students, especially students who are below grade level in literacy or who struggle, who are reluctant writers, we need to give them a tool to help them. And one of my favorite tools on the Read and Write toolbar is this one here, this prediction tool. And what it does, watch when I click on it, did you see that? It's opened up a list, a vocabulary list of top 10 words based on the previous couple of words that I've written. So this is like our real-time AI powered writing coach. What's actually happening in the background is the technology is searching through around about 10 million different online searches in real time, and it's providing a list of the most commonly used vocabulary combinations based on what I've written so far. And we know from our research that when the prediction tool is used consistently, it is going to increase the amount of writing that is produced and the sophistication, depending on the learner, up to 2 grade levels above their current literacy level. So it's an absolute game changer for students with significant learning disabilities who are significantly below their current grade levels, their peers, or those who are very reluctant writers. It's absolutely fantastic. I can tell you firsthand, my daughter, she's in grade 8. She uses this tool all the time, and she produces beautifully written work. So it really does help. And let's test it out and see what it looks like. So I should not have eaten so much food after all the food at the beach. So there's a few different ways I can do this. If I start to type, see that? I'll put in just B, and then I could scroll down. So if I'm not very good at typing yet, as a lot of primary school students are not, if we're just teaching them computer literacy basics, maybe they will type kind of like my mum and dad. They'll type with like kind of 2 fingers, and that's okay. They could just put the first word in, and then they could select the word, and it'll read it out for them. And then they could almost entirely just click on the words as well. So, but I, and then if it doesn't come out, I could also type the entire word in, and then obviously that will create the first word there. So, but I really like to So you can see how it's really helping me to expedite writing, and it's also giving me a top 10 list of most commonly used vocabulary to help me improve how much I write, to help me improve the amount of time I spend writing, and the sophistication of the vocabulary that I use. I really like to eat
And can I just jump in? There's been a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
So one has come through: can the prediction tool read the options for the student?
Normally it does read them out. For some reason, it's not coming through in the audio, but when you hover over the word, normally you'll be able to hear that word being read out to you. But it's not coming through the audio today, unfortunately. But yes, it does. If you hover over the word, it'll also read it out for them. And it does that on the iPad as well. Yep.
Excellent. There's two other questions. One is, does it work in Google Slide as well as Google Docs?
It should work in Google Slides. So we can actually go back and, oh no, we can't because, sorry. It should work in Google Slides, but again, this is, I don't want to give you all the answers today. So please test it out. You can download, go to texthelp.com if you don't have access to Read and Write already. Download a free trial. Everyone has full unlimited access for 1 month, or you can contact us and we can set up a longer term trial for your school as well. So try it out, but I'll double check for you. I believe it does work in Google Slides as long as you have opened the text box, which you should have if you're trying to input text.
Wonderful. And with the check tool, will it pick up a capital letter and possible grammatical errors, words not in the correct order and such?
So yeah, it should do. So that capitalization, we'll just turn it back on. So it picks up capitalization. See how it should be a capital T there and it doesn't. I'm not sure if I've got any examples of, yep. And it also picks up words which are kind of slightly in the wrong order, such as sat here instead of stayed. So yes, it does.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Keep those questions coming in through the chat. We'll have more opportunities to answer those for you as you go. Back to you, Ben. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Ben. So the last tool that I want to show you before we get back to some summarization and then plenty of time for questions is, again, that text-to-speech tool. So or play button, as we call it. So a good screen reading tool is going to be of benefit to all students. And what am I talking about now? I'm talking about proofreading. So, you know, remember if I said I had $1 for every time students had checked their work? What about if I had $1 for every time that they proofread their work, or rather didn't proof their work before they sent it to me, just to check for silly errors, to check if their linking sentences are done correctly, to check for coherency, and most importantly for the students themselves, to check if what I have written down is what I actually wanted to say, right? You know, my son, he's in grade 10, but he never proofs his work, and he kind of, you know, anyway, I'm projecting. Yeah, this time you can use the play button to really speed up that process of proofreading. Obviously, this time I'm not going to use the play button to read out for comprehension. I should know what I've written. I'm using it to really speed up the process. So we went to the beach. The beach was near Valentine. So I'm going to use this tool to really speed up the process of proofreading, which is a crucial final step before I'm going to go ahead and share or email or submit it to Turnitin and so on, depending on the age and stage of my particular student group or cohort. So you can see there, it's going to highlight and read out the text for me in dual highlighting. That significantly reduces cognitive load and critically allows me to focus on the comprehension of what I've written. But also remember, I said before, when we listen to content read out to us, depending on the learner, we can typically access and understand that content with much less cognitive load, up to 4 times faster than if we were to try and proofread this. So, you know, it's an absolute game changer for boosting productivity and expediting process. And this tool, by the way, can be used for everyone. So even beyond K to 12, it's not every week, but maybe once a fortnight, I will get a postgraduate student. Every single university in Australia, by the way, has at least one student, but sometimes hundreds and thousands of students who use the read and write tool, and they will ring me up and say, Ben, I want to tell you how the read and write toolbar, specifically things like the play button, helped to save me hundreds of hours in my postgrad study degree. So it's definitely not just a tool that's going to help students who are struggling or who are in primary school, but we get all ages and stages of students using the tool, particularly that play button and the prediction tool. They're my two favorites. Awesome. So let's go back to our slide deck and let's sum up. So read and write for Google Chrome, you can use it on a Windows PC, a Surface, you can use it on a MacBook like I'm using today, or a Chromebook. We also briefly looked at Orbit Note, which is an awesome way for you to access PDFs. And you saw the use of the highlighter tools and the comments and voice notes on PDFs. You can use those on PDFs and also Word documents or Google documents at this stage. Also, we started off by looking at web pages, any web page that's accessible, any Google Doc. If you haven't explored the use of Google Forms for formative and summative assessment, this is a great way to take the temperature and get really good analytics to inform of where you need to review. And also, as you collect more data, maybe where you want to tweak the way that you are planning your lesson and curriculum design and redesign. As I said before, if you make use of learner management systems or LMSs like a lot of schools do, we integrate with pretty much all of them. And great question earlier, of course, you can use it on Google Slides as well, provided you click on open the text box to help all students understand and be understood. There's also a way to customize the tool. So I'll just show you that quickly. If we open up our toolbar and we go to the three little dots, we can go into settings. And here we can actually go down to the features and toggle any or all of the, so watch what's happening to the toolbar. It's actually going to customize the toolbar depending on my learner. So back to the agency piece, we want to make sure we give all students agency or voice and choice in how they use the tool. So depending on the amount of scaffolding and the age of our students, we may choose to customize that for them and slowly introduce tools. The default will be to have all of the tools open and available to use. So just a few more things from me. If you missed out Future Building in Education, definitely check it out. We had a whole bunch of special guests from the Catholic Diocese, including in my session. We had Jacinta Keenan from Tasmania. So please do check out those. My favorite session was the UDL session. So definitely check those out and you can grab that, quickly grab out your phone or watch the recording. It's text.help/FB, which stands for Future Building -on-demand. We've got a whole bunch of other fantastic resources, but in the chat, I just want to share with you one particular one, and that is our YouTube channel. So a really great place to go to get more information is I'll share it in the chat right now, but you can also just go to YouTube and type in TextHelp. That will take you to our channel and you can subscribe to that. But in the playlists, if you were wondering, gee, this looks like a great tool, I need some more time and I want to know how to use all of the tools, click on playlists and go to read and write for Google Chrome features. And what that's going to do is take you to a playlist where you can look at a short overview of all the tools, but then actually every single tool on the toolbar with a short 1 to 2 minute video of how it works in the context of websites and so on. So I'll just pop that into the chat for you now. so that you've got that one there. And of course, we've got a whole bunch of other places. If you're on Facebook, just type in TextHelp ANZ, and that will take you to our Facebook page, where you can learn more about all of our fantastic events, thought leadership pieces, connect with a whole bunch of other teachers and parents and students who are using the toolbar, and facilitate some peer learning, as well as our monthly webinar schedule and a whole bunch more stuff there to dig into. So that brings me to the end of what I wanted to show you guys. I'll just put my contact details up here so you've got them. And then over to you. I understand we have a bunch of questions. So Ben, if you could let me know what some of those questions are, I'll be happy to go through, answer those while we've got a little bit more time up our sleeve.
Yep, we don't have any other questions that have come in just yet. We kind of answered those ones before. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want to unmute, ask the question, or throw it into chat? Now's your time to do so. Is there anything there?
I'm seeing Lauren has had a go at Google Slides, and it works perfectly. So thanks very much, Lauren, for checking that out.
Michelle's just asking, how secure is this for students?
Yep. So in terms of the security, we don't capture any details, but we do need, because in Google's case and Microsoft as well, we do need to accept permissions so that it will access things like slides or documents. Otherwise, you won't be able to use it on any of those formats. So in order for it to talk to either the G Suite applications or the Microsoft applications, you do need to accept permissions the first time you use it, so that the toolbar will actually be able to access content on any digital environment. But we can share with you our data protection privacy policy. It's actually the most secure in the world, because we're actually based in the UK, which has the strongest data privacy protections and penalties for those who do not comply. And all of that is spelled out in our data privacy and protection policy. But needless to say, we have 37 million users of Read and Write globally, in pretty much any country you can think of, including lots and lots of students and teachers at various dioceses right across Australia. And we've never had a breach of our data at all. So yeah, no issues there.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ben. Anyone else got any questions? Is there a cost for this app? Knew that question was coming. Ben, I'll throw to you.
Yeah, it's excellent, Margaret. So as I said before, you can simply go to texthelp.com, and anyone can access a free 30-day trial, which would give you all of the functionality that I've showed you today and more with the YouTube channel. So definitely take up that opportunity and try it out. And I know you guys are going to love it. Then you've got a couple of different options. So speak to the IT leads at your diocese or other people in the senior leadership team. In a lot of cases, the diocese has or is already working on a diocese-wide agreement with TextHelp, or if not, you could actually contact us directly, and you could request a free pilot for your school, which we are happy to provide. Usually we provide that for 90 days or one term. So first step would be just try it out yourself for 30 days. And if you're like, wow, this, you know what, this is going to be really awesome, I'm going to tell a few of my colleagues about it and get principal approval. And we're going to do a trial for 30 days. So there you go. You've got 4 months of access to really dig down in and see if it works. And then if you're happy with that, then depending on the number of students in the school, there is tiered pricing. So yeah, first things first, check it out for free, do a pilot at your school. And then if you love it, seek some budget from the principal to purchase. But just do remember, in a lot of cases, there are already some agreements. Some of them are already at the diocese level. So you may already find that you, in fact, have access to to the TextHelp tool.
Yeah, excellent, Ben. That's really great advice to jump in there, try it with that free trial, and then contact your representatives at your Dyson offices or your leadership team, build up a bit of a case, maybe just reaching out to someone there. There may already be a Dyson package under development or being utilised by some schools. So if there's more interest out there, definitely get in contact with your relevant people.
Yep. Yeah. I know our sales manager's been working really hard. So you probably find that the leadership team would more than likely have been approached and they're familiar with the tool already. But yeah, first things first, you can just go to the website, grab it for yourself, and really just assess whether you love the tool and where you think it's going to help and who you think it's going to help. And then, of course, if you get the approval, go for a free pilot for a term, and that will give you, a good amount of time to really assess whether it's going to work for you guys. And that's a free service that we offer to all K-12 schools.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Looks like there's plenty of thanks. If there's no other questions, Ben, thank you for your time. Really a fantastic session exploring the different uses of TextHelp. I think it's a really powerful tool in there to support learning. I love the way it integrates with the Google Suite. I know in Wollongong we definitely use the Google Suite, and I know a lot of other dioceses utilise that as well. And it provides a variety of ways to provide feedback for the students to improve their learning. So, from whether that's teacher feedback or whether it's direct feedback from the TextHelp with the read and write tools there, I think it's really powerful.
And that's one other thing I forgot to mention, guys. If you are actually making use of Google Suite, as a lot of schools do, then we can also give you some Google Analytics on which of the tools are most commonly used across your grade level cohort or your school. So that's actually really informative to help you guys tailor curriculum design as well, especially if you integrate with a learner management system like Google Classroom. So that's another thing we can help you with.
Wonderful, thank you. Just up on the screen at the moment, if you can take your time to evaluate this session, nice easy form, just pick the session from the drop-down list, would be fantastic. And we will then be able to, you can also access all these resources and any links from this session on the website, and the recordings will be available after the summit has been completed. If you want to follow along on Twitter, hashtag, use those tweet handles there. And our next session is You Can Teach an Old Doc New Tricks. So that's run by Chris Betcher from Google for Education, and will be at 1 o'clock. But thank you, Ben, for your time today to take